Let's wrap it up and talk about all that. Here now to lead us off and address the geopolitical side, Fred Kemp, President and CEO of the Atlantic Council. And joining us live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is Helima Croft, Managing Director and Global Head of Commodity Strategy at RBC Capital Markets. Helima, I think it's like 1 a.m. there, whatever time it is. So thank you for staying up for us. So I'm going to go to you first. You've been hanging out. You've been sort of reading the oil tea leaves, if you will, from the Saudis and maybe a little bit from OPEC as well. What are they thinking? What do you think they're going to do about the incoming administration?
Well, there are no indications, Brian, from my conversations in Riyadh that OPEC has any appetite to provide a barrel bailout for Washington at this juncture. There had been some speculation with Washington really tightening the sanctions, the Biden administration tightening sanctions on Russia on the way out, potentially disrupting around 1.4 million barrels of Russian exports. Iran sanctions also set to be strengthened with the Trump administration, that OPEC would provide a backfill. But it's pretty clear at this moment that OPEC is going to stay the course on their established production plan and are not going to do a repeat of 2018 where they provided 1 million additional barrels and then the U.S. switched policies, leaving the oil market oversupplied.
Yeah, as you wrote in your note, past interactions with Washington also appear to be informing the OPEC decision to stay the course. So let's go to Iran and Venezuela. Back to you, Helima, which is this. And Russia. Also, by the way, the current White House going back after Russia, Trump going hard, at least verbally, about Iran and Venezuela now as well. If we reinforce, for lack of a better term, those sanctions, what's going to happen to the global oil balance? And I would assume the Saudis and OPEC do stand ready to actually make up any lost barrels. If they don't, we're going back to 100.
I mean, here's the question, Brian. Will the Trump administration potentially roll back these Russia sanctions that Biden put in place? All indications are, based on the confirmation hearings, that they are going to potentially use the Russia sanctions as a bargaining chip to try to get concessions. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any immediate repeal. The repeals that we're looking for from the Trump administration is the offshore drilling ban, the LNG permitting pause, all related to U.S. production. And there seems to be a hope that U.S. production can come to the rescue, but it's not a just-in-time producer. So, yes, if they go ahead with maximum pressure, if these Russia sanctions stand, that is a tighter market. And if there is no OPEC backfill coming, that's going to make it exceedingly difficult for President Trump to deliver on his promises of lower energy prices immediately.
Fred, one related but almost in a way broader thing that I heard from Besant today, which I thought was quite interesting, is that he said he thinks the president is sort of fed up with sanctions and the way that they're pushing countries out of the U.S. dollar system, where that is the tool by which, so it's basically a tool of national defense. And he said, he thinks that's why the president wants to use tariffs instead. Just talk about the implication of that, okay, if we're not going to push further in the directions of sanctions, maybe go to tariffs instead. What does that mean?
Well, they're worried about dollar dominance over time and that sanctions could cut into that. Tariffs is not also the best weapon to replace it. You could also turn to export controls. There are a lot of different weapons in the U.S. economic arsenal. The question is which one of them gets you closest to the results. And I think it's different in every different situation. With Iran, you're talking about Iran, you're in a situation now that Iran is in the weakest position it's been in 30 years. Its air defenses are down. It's been shown that it can't successfully attack Israel. Its proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas, have been decimated. This is a time where you can put maximum pressure on Iran to get a better deal, not just on its nuclear aspirations, but also on its regional behavior. This is really the time to put greater pressure on Iran, and that would be the Trump administration's first instinct.